Section 6. Duties of a human being, responsibility, conscience, how do you say?
Conscience.
Conscience and sin. Duties of a human being, responsibility, conscience and sin. The human has duties to nature, to his breath form, to his triune self, and to the intelligence from whom the triune self receives its light, and to the supreme intelligence. The duties of nature are to nature in the human body and to the nature outside. While nature matter is in the human body, it is the doer's duty to improve it so that the nature matter becomes conscious in higher degrees. In most of this improvement, as that through the progression of the nature units, in the body, the doer in the human is unconscious, but senses a duty to keep the body whole, sound and clean. This includes the duty to care for the four beings, which are the four senses. So you want me to stop or do you want me to go ahead?
No, read again.
Okay. The duties to nature are to nature in the human body and to nature outside. So this is clear. So not only to our human body, also to nature outside, our duty. While nature matter is in the human body, it is the doer's duty to improve it so that the nature matter becomes conscious in higher degrees. In most of this improvement, as that through the progression of the nature units in the body, the doer in the human body is unconscious, but senses a duty to keep the body whole, sound and clean. This includes the duty to care for the four beings, which are the four senses.
Let's keep it up a discussion, please.
Yeah.
So here, see, first of all, we have nature matter. We are nothing but the encapsulation of the nature matter.
The four elements.
The four elements. The four elements happen to be the ones that have to be utilized to purify. Those are the elements because of which we have come down to the earth, right? We have made our body impure. And that body became mortal body which has come to the earth along with the doer. Doer is the one that when we take the first birth, the living soul in the body is nothing but the doer in the body.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, the responsibility of this body is what? To achieve the purpose of the universe, which is nothing but progression.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, I'm only repeating his own sentences.
Yeah.
Right. So, progression. Now, the progression is anyway going to happen. Because that is the plan of the universe. And in the plan, this body is utilized to increase the consciousness of the universe. By virtue of this nature matter first getting entrapped, and that is becoming wisdom going forward. Right? That wisdom is nothing but the light of
intelligence.
Awareness. Yes, light of intelligence which is making it aware. Okay. So what he is saying is the responsibility of the doer inside the body is like a filter. Nature matter is like your coffee powder in that filter. Okay. The purification is coming out as the decoction.
Yeah.
Right? And it has got all the elements that have gone in, but only thing is the consciousness is coming out. Correct?
Yeah.
Any questions?
So that is why we are most of the time we are conscious of our body, but not to the elements outside.
No, that is, you see, we are conscious because it is the nature to which our consciousness has increased.
Oh,
And
okay.
either we are under the control of the four senses of the body, or we know how to utilize the four senses of the body. Both of them are a measure of the degree of consciousness. Either you are influenced or you are the influencer.
जरा दोबारा बोले
कौन सा?
दोबारा बोले अभी जो बोला आपने
No, see, four senses of the body are like beings. Okay.
Okay.
They are the ones which enable you to recognize, depending upon whether they are controlling or you, or because of your awareness, your degree of consciousness, you are utilizing them to control the scenario. Right? Uske control mein ho, so you are responding to the senses. But when your consciousness goes above, from the AIA stage into the intelligence, right? That is when you are controlling the senses for you to utilize it effectively to increase your consciousness.
So it is our duty to utilize those senses properly.
No, it is our duty to ensure the consciousness is increasing periodically. You start with kindergarten, then go to nursery, then you go to primary, then you go to secondary, then you go to college, then you go, you come out with graduation.
Yeah, that progression is always happens. Yeah.
Yeah, whether we like it or not, it will happen.
Yeah.
The only thing is you will become victim of
Depends on how
ATKT
many
system.
lifetime we take. It depends on
Yeah.
how many lifetime we
Hey,
take.
that is what it is. It becomes the ATKT system. जो इंजीनियरिंग और आर्किटेक्चर स्कूल्स में होता है ना, yes sir. Jagdish sir.
So there's another aspect. He says, yeah, see, just read it carefully. He says, like you rightly said, well, there is this duty, and quite often we're unconscious, and it only when you go to a higher degree of conscious, we know what these duties are.
Correct.
But whether you are aware of it or not, you are unconsciously aware that you have a duty, particular towards. Please read that sentence again. You are.
Sir, he's saying that.
We have, see, we may not perform, but that's why we sometimes we guilty. We are
Sir,
aware that we have a duty.
is that not?
Duty to ourselves.
Is that not?
We are aware that we have to keep our body well. Okay, but we don't.
Correct.
But sometimes we don't. Though, but the fact is, unconsciously we are aware we should keep our body fit, we should keep our senses fine, etc. That's what he says.
And those are the four forms also that we have to take cognizance of.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, then the end of the chapter 5, he was talking those forms.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let me read
those
this.
Those forms are inside you, trapped inside you as nature matter, which needs to get purified.
Yeah.
And the process of those forms is part of your purification cycle.
What are those forms, sir?
और अपने 4 फॉर्म है ना, रेडिएंट का फॉर्म और इसका फॉर्म,
हाँ.
breath form and actual form factor and all those 4 elements.
Correct.
Okay. In most of this improvement, as that through the progression of the nature units in the body, the doer in the human body is unconscious, but senses a duty to keep the body whole, sound and clean. This includes the duty to care for the 4 beings, which are the 4 senses. The outside
1
nature.
minute, ma'am.
Yeah.
See, here it is also important to know when we fail in this part of the duty, right? Nature gives us alarms, as we are learning in spiritual tablets, which happen to be skin rashes or some disease etc.
Ah,
Okay, when we
So
are
we-
aware and we don't do anything about it, it will start manifesting as warnings.
Same thing, allergies also. See, it is
Yeah,
all.
that is all. See, the easiest layer in the body that gets affected because of the imbalance of feeling and desire is the skin. The most visible part of the body, which is the skin. So that is where it will first manifest.
Yeah.
And then if you don't take it into cognizance, we will learn. And in spiritual tablets, we have got two scenarios, which we call major mistake and minor mistake.
To outside nature, the human has the duties to worship it according to the religion into which he is born or which he chooses, and to be true to that religion while he believes in it. To worship.
So the key word here is while he believes in it.
Yeah. While he believes in it. Yeah. So the nature units. Yeah.
Yeah.
To worship, pay tribute to, and to nourish a nature god or the nature gods, so long as the human believes him or them to be the source of his being. This is the case chiefly while the doer is in the stage of the run of human beings. This is the case chiefly while the doer is in the stage of the run of human beings. I didn't get what he's saying. This is the
read
case.
next
Still in the
sentence, you will
beginning.
understand.
He's not very wise yet. He's not wise. He's
Oh,
not
okay,
he's not
okay.
like-
Why is
not
it?
जब तक इंसान है तब तक नेचर गॉड रहेगा और तब तक हम पूजा करते
नहीं,
रहेंगे
जब
साधारण है
तक
सर, जब तक
आप
साधारण है सर।
अपने सेंसेस के कंट्रोल में हो, जब तक आप अपने सेंसेस के कंट्रोल में हो, as long as you are under the
In your
control of the
senses.
senses, right? That is
Yeah.
run of the human.
Ah, okay,
Run of
got
the
it.
human, and that's
Yeah.
how you will start believing on the
Okay,
nature god.
because see, you have not yet evolved. As Jagdish sir was saying, you have not come to the AIA stage. अभी भी nature में ही जी रहे हो.
Correct.
Yeah.
ठीक है, आपका breath form is more important than your intelligence.
Okay. So this is the case chiefly while the doer is in the stage of the run of human beings. When the human advances, he has the
No,
duty to see.
that is the state of run of the human being, run of the human beings.
Yeah.
When the human advances, he has the duty to see and understand nature in his own body.
Yeah.
This is where he becomes intelligent.
Yeah.
That is where, see, he is at the fag end and waiting to enter the realm of intelligence. Right? And then he will progress. एक बार थोड़ा realize हो गया तो it is like I give you a little finger and you will take my hand. After that, the process acts very fast.
But see, that is why,
Sir,
initially in Hindu.
nature in human body.
What is it?
थोड़ा सा brief करें ना सर.
Panchabhutas, we always say.
Sir, एक minute.
पंचभूत ही है ना.
No. Go back to your four elements.
Yeah.
Everything in this physical world has to contain four things, right? What are they?
Earth, fire, earth,
Radiant matter, that is radiant solid, fluid solid, air is solid, and solid solid. Correct?
Here, radiant is connected to fire.
So all those are required if anything is to manifest in the physical earth. Because they are all permeating, that atmosphere is completely permeating this. And at the particle level, what is around us, it is those four elements only. जैसा कमरे में झाड़ू मारेंगे तो अपने को डस्ट दिखेगा, नहीं तो रूम इज वेरी क्लीन. करेक्ट. So that's solidification, like sweeping, broomstick जैसा घुमाया उतना डस्ट निकला, नहीं तो बिल्कुल कुछ नहीं है, क्या है, कमरा साफ है. Right? So that manifestation is nothing but nature matter. The matter inside us is belonging to nature, and this is a machinery, and the entire universe is that nature machine, right?
But sir, ये
So
कह रहा
the-
है as we advance, we will get to know these nature matters inside
Because
us.
that nature matter as fire would have gone all
Sir,
the
but
way
Avel-
up to the triune self, then it would have gone as air to the triune self.
Advance का
All those
मतलब है you
spheres
become more
filtering हो
aware.
गया.
Yeah.
Jagdish sir, you
Yeah,
said
that-
something, we lost.
No, I said advance का मतलब yeah, became more aware.
Correct.
So,
तो मतलब
so
AI से
basically-
इंटेलिजेंट यूनिट में घुस गए हो आप.
basically he's saying your connection with the triumph self.
Correct.
Not directly connection, slowly. You
No,
don't get
connection
connected
is
at all.
always there.
That's it.
When you cross the barrier
You're not aware.
of being under the influence of your senses, only
Senses.
then you will start recognizing that there is a triune self. तभी तो अब तो आपका ट्राइयून सेल्फ सब कुछ आपका डूअरशिप में ही है.
Got
Yeah.
it.
So the
One sentence that we read previously in the same book is being conscious or becoming conscious of our own consciousness.
Correct. So that is between your what you call nature matter and intelligence. Nature matter are the individual components which are conscious of themselves. Like eyes can only see, they cannot taste, or they cannot hear. Those kind of things are the nature components.
Combined.
They are conscious of their function only, or by virtue of their function only.
Yeah, but then the self or doer has to become conscious. That whole concept is becoming conscious.
No, doer has to start understanding that he is above them. When is he above them? Doer is like that bucket, जिसमें पानी भर रहा है, पानी भर रहा है, पानी भर रहा है, जब तक वो पूरा भरेगा नहीं, right? He is going to be under the influence of the senses.
Yes.
Correct. That is the point he is trying to convey. Yeah.
The duty of the human to his breath form begins when he discovers that nature and the nature gods are not the source of his being. The duty of the human being to his breath form begins when he discovers that nature and the nature gods are not the source of his being. The duty
But that
is
is
to
moving into the AIA.
okay. Yeah. Nature. Okay. Yeah. The duty is to restore his breath form to the realm of permanence so that it will take its place on the eternal order of progression when his triune self becomes an intelligence. Okay. The duty is to restore his breath form to the realm of permanence so that it will take its place in the eternal order of progression when his triune self becomes an intelligence.
Correct. Everyone
The
clear? Everyone
Yeah.
clear with that?
Clear, sir.
Yeah. The duties of the doer.
Gayatri, Chitra, Aruna, are you people following?
Yes, sir. Bit by bit.
Okay. No, because you come as visitors and go. And this book calls for consistency. That is the problem.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I
sir.
got it, sir.
We just follow up with the recorded session,
Yeah.
sir.
Otherwise, don't forget, you have got Australia timing, you have got India timing, you have got USA timing. There are 3 more sessions being done
Wonderful,
from
sir.
page
Yes.
1
That will
of
be,
the
sir.
book.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
sir.
want
Thank you, sir.
everyone to understand, because this is slowly giving me the entire way of life. And when I have experienced healing the wound and all, I am able to connect it to the process that he is describing and integrating it with our meditation as the framework.
Hmm.
So
Manifestation
there is a-
part.
Yeah, there is that
Awareness.
manifestation
Begin with
part
awareness,
also. Sir,
No, begins with awareness, not manifestation straight away.
yeah. No, the ending is the
All of-
manifestation. See, manifestation she is using because she knows that I've used the same process to heal a wound which has taken me 2 years.
No, same thing happened to me.
So,
no,
sir,
manifestation
confidently,
came at
without
me.
meditation, I have managed to close the skin. So it is possible.
Yeah, here he said, when he says the duty is to restore his breath form to the realm of permanence. So is it same that
No,
We just
see,
talked about that, na?
the duty of the human being is fourfold. Okay, the first one is to nature inside and outside. It is
Okay.
another way of saying it is to his body and outside.
yeah,
Okay, a portion of the body, not the whole thing. That is the nature part. Then he has got to separate the breath form. What is breath form at the fundamental level?
Life itself, right?
soul,
Soul.
Yeah.
What we call it. What we
Soul
call
on
it.
one
Soul.
side and the aspect of breath and form, the active and passive components.
yeah,
So think at that level. Now, what is the duty of the human being? Human being is the human body towards that to utilize the breath and form. What is breath? Breath has got the role of life-giving. It is the life-giving component. Its responsibility is give life, sustain life, and repair life. So that is the other aspect of it.
mm,
Okay.
And
And-
these things we can do only with our body, which is the form, and the organs we have.
Exactly. That is the
So
form
the
side
form
of
is
it.
our body and the soul is our breath. That's
Correct.
all.
No, both together is our soul.
breath, yeah, both together is a soul.
Okay. Now, the job of breath, the doer in the body is to balance these two.
Oh, breath and the form.
Yes. And here, let us take a little bit of a digression just to get the concept clear. What is our soul from the perspective of the Sufism?
You said all nature inside, yeah,
See, those are all the kingdoms inside
yeah,
which form the nature matter. Your mineral kingdom inside the body is your skeletal structure. Your plant kingdom inside the body is nothing
Digestive.
but your digestive system. Right? All these are the components that you are going to clear. All these are the components that are going to be maintained by the body. Actually, the doer, not the body. And his
Doer, yeah.
responsibility is the responsibility towards the nature matter, his responsibility so nature matter, and when it comes, it is to increase the consciousness so that he is inching towards the balanced rejoining of his realm of permanence.
Yes.
Correct. Now it is the breath form. Breath form ka kya hai responsibility? He is explaining now.
oh, that is, okay, that is why he's saying restore his breath form, okay.
Correct.
Somehow it doesn't fit with what we read before in the earlier chapters,
No,
where
it fits
I think.
perfectly, sir. It fits
So because
perfectly.
yeah, let me state that during the pregnancy, first the breath and the form will start uniting or will form as one fetus, and then the soul enters into it. I think that's the impression that I got.
Sir. You missed the point. The breath creates the conception, and the form is the one that is inside the form to be. The soul, that form aspect is the soul also. That is already there in the form. But it becomes a living soul in the body. This form aspect is your soul. He explains that very clearly when he explains the nature matter, which is the one that is getting purified, that is the form which becomes the soul. But now, breath is something that is required always for it to complete its half to full. So, when that conception happens, it is the breath of the mother acting on the form which is inside her. Right? Conception happens and it lives on mother's breath.
Yes.
Then it comes out with the first breath. It has got a body now, which has been sustained by the mother's breath. That form is mother's breath and his form. This form is joined by the person's individual breath. That becomes the living soul inside the body. That happens in the heart.
Yeah.
That is
That
the
unites.
explanation. He is very consistent even in his sentence, even the tense. He is not contradicting any statement.
No, the heart comes into the picture after 6 weeks or something like that.
Whenever it can come, but till the body is born, it is sustaining. The soul is sustaining on the breath of the mother.
Right. The body itself is not formed until the first few weeks.
So body, the moment the cell fetus itself is part of the body. Only thing is we are giving it the name, whether the body is completely matured or it is still immature. Body is a collection of cells.
Yeah, even one cell also we can call it body, because that
organism,
is how
we call it in system theory, we just call it organism. Doesn't matter what it is. It's organism.
Because as far as I remember, the soul enters after the formation. The formation is two forms. One is the breath and the form. Breath and the
soul is entering and surviving on the mother's breath.
No, surviving on the mother's breath is agreed. That's
and
why
the
I'm
form
saying,
is already inside, which is the soul component.
No, the soul enters into an agreement with the soul of the mother.
That
and
is
soul
before
of the
birth, sir. Sir, that is during the stage of the pregnancy.
No, before the pregnancy. The contract is the minute the pregnancy begins. Contract becomes effective only then.
So, you can say that, and there is nothing wrong with it, because see, it is not existing as an independent soul, but as a soul aspect it is existing. Soul aspect is two things, the active and the passive, which is nothing but the form and the breath. Are you with me?
No, soul is the third entity in my opinion.
No, it is not.
Because
it is the form, sir. No. In the diagram, please look the way I have represented it.
Yeah.
No, it is very clear.
On death, the breath and the form ceases to exist. The only thing that exists
it doesn't cease to exist, sir. On death, what happens? They become separate.
Separates.
No, separates. What separates?
Form.
Breath and form.
Form separates from breath.
Yes, and this they don't form as a body. The body ceases to exist.
So body in the physical layer, the innermost layer of the body is ceasing to exist. The rest of the body, the 5 layers, the Panchakoshas or the Saptakoshas, they are still in existence.
Only Annamaya
One of them is not
outside.
in existence.
only outside layer.
Breath doesn't exist, sir. Breath and the form both don't exist subsequently. It is the soul that goes
Sir,
through the
please
life form
reread
of
the
the body.
chapter. No, reread the chapter, you are missing something.
I don't know. The way I understood is that the
Breath
breath
form,
and the form
sorry,
stops
breath
with the
form,
death.
breath form together is the ultimate soul
Soul.
that is there at the time of your death.
Yeah, and form is the soul
What we call soul is the breath form.
that gives the physical life to it is the breath. So the physical part of it will cease to exist at death.
Yeah, that is the breath and the form.
Correct, sir. But the form will continue to exist and come back into your next life.
The light form, not in the physical body, the light form.
Physical body, physical is
Light
body
is not
different.
a form though.
Sir, form is never a physical one. Anything that doesn't have a shape is form.
That has a shape.
No, you're getting
Doesn't have a
confused with
shape.
the
The
form.
shape is
Form.
decided by the thoughts, the karma. The
See-
shape is decided by the karma. The karma will manifest as a crooked shape or a straight shape or a sick shape and so on and so forth. That aspecting happens with the breath of the mother, which is nurtured into that form, and subsequently it happens when the child takes its own birth, it becomes the living soul inside the body. These are the exact sentences if you read that book again. The diagrams are there in that PDF that I have posted. You can take a look at it.
Unfortunately, I could not read that even after posting.
Ramakrishna Garu, you're confused. Out of 5 kosas, only Annamaya kosa is leaving the form as the form.
No,
No, లేదమ్మా.
Annamaya and Pranamaya, two of them are
ప్రాణమయ
yeah.
కూడా ఉండదు.
Separate. Yeah,
అన్నమయ
separate.
ప్రాణమయ both are gone.
They
they are
separate.
not
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
No,
They
separate
are
means
separated.
Yeah,
They
that's
are
what I'm saying.
separated.
They're
That
separated.
separated
Once they are
portion, the
separated-
soul is existing as form and loitering around
Yeah.
till it is ready for the next birth. He has explained that in the 13 stage diagram also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
No, my understanding is on death, the soul doesn't have the form. Soul takes the form again only on the next birth.
Sir, form is already there. You are giving it a physical shape, thinking in terms of our physical. See, we don't recognize if there is no form. You are taking that approach in trying to draw the understanding. For a moment, forget that. Form is your energy body which is staying back.
Mental body. Yeah.
I think the confusion is it again is a question of language, semantics. You're
Correct.
looking at the physical element.
Exactly, that
and
is
the
what I
form.
was saying. Yes.
Not,
Don't
we are
look at
confusing
it
there.
from the
Form does not-
physical perspective.
We usually, in a very colloquial way, when we say form, we talk about a particular form, right? That's not
Yeah.
what it means.
Can you see your soul?
If the definition of a form, as I understood, is that anything that you can sense by
No.
your sense.
No.
No,
No.
that is it. That is very.
That is where
That
the
is it.
gap is coming.
That is semantics. That is the colloquial way of looking at form.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the spiritual way, that's not form. Not
That
necessarily.
is not Dr. Samuel Johnson is not playing a role in this form.
It
is beyond that.
This culprit is the language. Culprit is language. Culprit is semantics.
Yeah,
That's why Jiddu Krishnamurti says, don't try to understand me, just experience me.
correct.
Right?
Yeah, right. Let us
Okay.
proceed.
The duty of the humans to his breath form begins. Did I finish? Yeah, I finished this.
No, restart that.
Okay.
Please read that
Okay.
again.
The duty of the human to his breath form begins when he discovers that nature and the nature gods are not the source of his being.
No, you are
The du-
stopping at the wrong place.
Oh, the duty of the human to his breath form begins when he discovers that
When he
Nature-
discovers that nature,
when he discovers that,
No,
that
don't
na-
stop at that. There is no comma.
okay, when he discovers that nature and the nature gods are
That
not the source
nature,
of his
that nature.
that nature, okay,
Ah,
okay, that nature, okay, that elemental nature
correct.
and the
And-
nature gods are not the source of his being. So basically, what my understanding is, even though we know we are made up of all this nature, but we don't, we are always not aware of it.
No, we
Conscious.
are not,
Conscious.
we are not taking cognizance of that fact
Cognizant.
because we are controlled by our feelings and desire.
Yeah, that is because of senses.
Correct, correct.
Yeah. The duty is to restore his breath form to the realm of permanence so that it will take its place in the eternal order of progression when his triune self becomes an intelligence.
Correct. So here, the breath and form have to achieve that level of balance. The doer's job is to balance the breath and form. That imbalance is the cleansing that is required. Maintaining the balance of the breath and form in the triune self is that is assigned to the doer in the body. Are you seeing that?
So
When
how
will
do
they
we-
be balanced? When will they be balanced? When their consciousness is on the same plane. That is when they will go and join the triune self.
Okay, when they are on the same plane.
Correct. And what is it that is becoming mortal and immortal? That imbalance is converting the body from immortal to mortal and mortal to immortal. Sir, the chapter on soul, chapter 2, the section on soul, please read it. You will get out of your confusion. Where he explains soul in chapter 2.
So when he says in that eternal order of progression, when his triune self becomes an intelligence, so that means the triune self becomes that aware,
No,
conscious.
this
yes.
doer
Yeah.
in his level of consciousness has now got a completely pure state where this desire and feeling have got balanced completely,
Okay.
right? Then he is eligible to join his triune self.
Okay. Other part. Yeah.
Correct.
Karma theory is the same thing, is it not? When your karma is finished, that is the balance, you soul merges with the super soul. Is that not the same
So
philosophy that we are talking
here what
about?
is he saying? You are defining that also by virtue of your thought. Karma is decided because of your thought,
Yeah.
which is the particle level of your action, your emotion, all those things.
Yeah. Even thinking wrongly itself is a sin. That's the.
Correct, sir. But that is the source, is what he is saying here.
Yeah. So even, thought sinfully is also a sin.
No, that is what he is saying. But the source of that starting is the thought. Because no thought, no action, no feeling, no desire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The duties of the, okay, can you?
So what he is saying is that eternal order of progression, when his triune self, that means there is a triune self for each soul, his
Yes.
triune
Which
self,
is your higher soul.
becomes an
There is not
intelligence.
one higher. See, you remember in that Madhuri's session, when we were doing the power of now, I gave this concept and they all negated it.
I don't recollect the negation part
Yeah.
of it, but I
Yeah,
agree.
but
There
they
is
didn't
a
agree
dream of
to it. They
permanence
said there is
above.
only one Purnatma.
Yeah, that is the
No.
dream of permanence.
Sir, it is above. It is the realm of intelligence that they were talking of. I was talking of the higher soul. Every body in this life has got a higher soul.
Yeah.
Who will
That is
release
because-
this component to the
Purnatma.
See, that is what is you forever also. The diagram that he gives in you forever
Yeah,
is the
like a
same
flower.
thing. Correct.
Like a, yeah, on the top of our
Like
head.
somebody sending various forms to the earth and tying him up with a puppet chain.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
like a flower. Yeah. So that is also they say in meditations, Purnatma, Purnatma.
Yeah.
That
See,
higher
what
self.
has happened is there are so many meditators and so many languages. So
Yeah, it's confusing.
interpretation is to be convenient. It is spreading like religion.
So which is why I told you earlier, Dr. Pathsathi described it very well. It's like Ganesha traveling on a mouse,
Correct.
communicating. It's a huge thing on a thing. Trying to, it's so inefficient, it cannot be complete. That's what
Exactly.
problem with explaining with
Correct.
language. Because that's the only,
Correct.
and this fellow Tennyson put it beautifully. But what am I but an infant crying in the dark, an infant crying for the light, and with no language but a cry.
Correct.
No, sir.
But cry also is a language, sir. Maybe
No
only
language,
mothers
but-
understand it better than anybody else.
Yeah.
But that's also a language.
I think we are threadbare going through it, sir. That is the reason that we want to understand it, right?
Correct, sir. Nobody is questioning anything.
That's the only reason why we are here in a
Yeah, yeah.
discussion
That's
mode.
why we should also accept the trouble, the confusion of the
Not
language.
just
range.
accepting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir, 100%. See, nobody is blaming anyone. Here, this forum, the beauty of this forum is everyone gets to express. And
Yeah.
then we utilize that to come to the collective one by virtue of our various books that we read. So that the concept is clear. That is the only framework that we have here. There are no ego.
Collective wisdom.
No, we are way beyond the control of our senses. All of us.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Very
Now,
good.
so we have understood two concepts. There are four-pronged duty. First is the duty to nature, duty to breath form. What is the duty to breath form again? Is to enable and restore the balance of the breath and form, which is the active and passive component of a soul.
Yes.
Look at the beauty. The same thing, the active and passive component of together they being the soul, when that is to be balanced, that responsibility is also of the human being to his breath form. Breath form is the active and passive component. And spiritually we call it soul. Physically it is the aspects, two aspects of nature matter, where there is an imbalance between the two. Everyone on the same page?
Yeah, I agree.
Anu, Swarna, Kanchan, Aruna, Chitra, Gayatri, Mishraji.
Yes, sir.
Because we are not able to follow. See, you people are hiding behind black boxes, so I am not able to read the expressions. Yeah,
Yes,
at least to do that, put fingers, put some similes, do something.
Sir, thank you, sir. Will do.
But there are two forms to the soul, right? One is the passive form, the other is the active form. So
Yeah,
we seem
that
to
is
be
breath
taking the
and
active
form.
form. They seem to be taking the passive form.
Correct. So they are only in the forms here. This one, there is no breath there. Breath is the intelligence, no? Which converts the form into life.
Yeah.
No, this
It's
language is also
unfortunately-
helping us claim our understanding of the subject.
Okay.
Let's continue.
Your statement, unfortunately, makes us presumptuous that we are relatively the more intelligent beings.
No, but see, light is reaching us, it is not reaching them. No, that is why they are in the dark.
No, sir, there can be some dark light also. Probably it is not
Sir, I
reflecting.
am not a
from them.
physicist to go to that depth.
No,
I am
spiritually,
a spiritual scientist.
spiritually, according to Islam, okay, what we call the big type starts with the black hole. See what it says, Quran says is there is a lamp that is lit with a matchstick in the black hole. Okay, now that debate still among those scientists are whether it's lit from outside or lit from inside. If it's lit from outside,
Hey.
illuminates, comes out, the Big Bang comes out. It's lit from outside, then it brightens. That is the only thing they have. Otherwise, they are
But
all
then the black hole remains. The
Yes,
black
for the
hole will
black hole-
remain.
black hole is their fundamental concept for Islam. But later on, like us, there the Allah goes on into the throat, rips it into it, and pushes those energy cells or the five, which are the first four chakras of Earth.
Yeah,
the
that
remaining
is the
chakra-
Kundalini and all that. That's
Yes.
yeah,
They have the same ideas. Yes.
correct.
That
Sir,
means there are two
actually-
entities.
The basis of all religions is the same. Only thing is, after that, the human factor came into picture. And then started building compound
not
walls.
the human, yes, not just human, the priesthood. The priest
No,
who
no.
took up on the
Sir, that
power.
also is given birth to by us only, no?
Yes, correct.
So that is what there he's
We
talking
gave
about.
somebody
nature
वो
gods.
finger दे दिया तो हाथ ले लिया. It is the manifestation of that.
Jagdish
So-
sir, what you
Yeah.
said about Islam is that so there are two entities. One is the black hole, the other is Allah. So Allah has to put his hand into the entity.
No. Allah, it's not black hole and Allah. Okay, Allah is the creator as such. Okay, creates from the black hole. Now the person, see, it's like was we talk of the Brahma, no? The formless.
No, but was black hole existing along with Allah?
Yes.
So there
They
are two
create-
entities that existed primarily.
Sir, there was
No,
only one entity.
One
That
existence.
is the
That's black hole.
universe.
That's the
The
black
first
hole.
is the
According to-
universe, which is a black hole. It is like the seven blind men and the elephant.
Oh, wherever, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's
Right?
yeah.
Wherever light fell, they were able to see. See with
Yeah.
their fingers.
The
See,
perception.
Upanishad, see, in the
No,
Upanishad, we talk of the Purusha Sukta, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The Purusha Sukta, which now what is that? Was it a black hole? And who blew it up? That is also not the same way. With Allah the black hole or the black hole created Allah? Okay, it's the same thing. Vishwam we say. Okay,
Correct.
so that is the same issue. We are also talking to Purusha Sukta.
Purusha,
what was that?
Purusha and Prakriti, they are not different. It is, one and the
Correct.
same.
Man,
He create,
that-
yeah.
That Purusha
They are
and
not one and the same. They are
Prakriti
not one and the same.
are the manifestation of breath and form.
Similar. That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
When it comes to
absolutely.
Yeah.
when it comes to the soul, it is that. When it comes to the mental state, it is the what was that?
Prakriti?
The Prakriti and the Purusha
Purusha.
there is again the active and passive component.
Passive.
When it comes to the neotic, the mental world, they are manifested as the thinker, right? I forgot. I'm losing my thoughts.
No,
now.
what you are not we're not sure what you are trying to get at, then we'll get at.
Sir, see, when it comes to the soul aspect, the doer side of it,
Right.
it is Prakriti Purusha is breath and form.
Right.
right? Now, at the mental level, what is it?
Reason and rightness.
Reason and rightness,
Excellent.
Right.
Correct.
and at the neotic level, which is the knower level, it is rightness and knowledge and intellect. Correct.
Right.
Knowledge and intellect. So those are the imbalances. And then ultimately you have got the balance of the physical cover for all these things, which happens to be the mortal body or immortal body, which is the body mind. These are the 7 layers that you have to get
Agree.
correct. And the same thing we can now relate to these 7 minds and the 7 Sufis and soul components, all that we can relate actually.
Sure.
Yeah, let us proceed.
So the
Now it
duties
is
of
the
the
duty of the doer to the triumph self.
yeah, the duties of the doer in a human to its triune self are to learn what the 3 parts of the triune self are as doer, thinker, and knower, and what their proper relation is, and not to allow itself to be lost into nature. So we just
Okay,
need
now-
to
Exactly what we are doing. That's
Yeah.
what we are
Well,
doing.
it's
man.
beautiful. No, this is a beautiful connotation. What is nature here? What is nature?
दोबारा पढ़िए मैम।
Nature is a being having 4 components,
4 elemental components.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that nature is nothing but those 4 senses, and you're living in the control of those 4 senses.
Yeah, at the doer level.
At the doer level, exactly.
At the doer level. Yes.
Because the doer is now, he actually says, no, the doer is surrounded by coils of flesh and this.
No.
bones,
Pardon? Mishraji, you have said something? No. See, he uses the word flesh and blood. We are actually getting uncovered in that, which is nothing but being under the control of the senses. He uses that word in chapter 2.
Correct. But what this passage tells us is, therefore, the duty of this is to ultimately get to know the triune self.
Exactly.
And
That means he has to come above it. That is what he's saying. You have to do that so that you can start thinking of that. When will he even think about that? When he is above the survival mode.
Sensus mode. What does it mean? And not to allow itself to be lost into nature.
Yeah, what is
So
nature? Nature is those 4 senses. And being
go
under the
beyond
control there.
senses.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Beyond senses.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Rise
The
above
doer-
the senses. Yeah.
Yeah.
The doer must learn.
The doer must learn the nature and the doer must learn the nature and functions of itself as feeling and desire,
And desire.
of the thinker as rightness and reason, and of its knower as I-ness and selfness. Yeah. The
So
doer
this is
must
what
learn
we were
the nature.
actually discussing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, interestingly, sir, I think whatever statement I made in ignorance is actually true. Those who have got the light on them are definitely able to follow what is going on.
Correct.
And those who are not switching on the light are not allowing it to come.
सर अभी कर देता हूँ लाइट।
See,
Okay.
the art of motivation, using the subject to motivate ourselves to switch on the lights.
अब सर बोलेंगे कि लाइट फेड है, अभी हम वहां तक नहीं पहुंचे हैं।
हाँ। नहीं, आप अंधेरे से निकल रहे हो, अभी हमारे जैसे उजाला नहीं बनाया है आपने।
वही तो
See, Gayatri ma'am has come to light. Next will be Swarna, I think. Let us see. Yeah,
Okay. Feeling must be kept sensitive so that it may receive accurately impressions from nature and from the other parts of the triune self. Feeling must be kept sensitive so that it may receive accurately impressions from nature and from the other
So-
parts of the triune self.
now let us try to reread this sentence. There are two components. Nature is there inside, nature is there outside.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, if I am tilting towards what I am seeing from outside, my feeling is sensitive, but it is sensitive to what I am seeing. And my feeling, when it starts responding to what is happening inside and not seeing what is happening outside, my
So the
feeling is not
connection-
sensitive.
Connection
Has
should
to
be
be-
there.
Yes, and my feeling should be like a pass-through. I should equate what I have inside to what I am seeing outside. Which
So we
means
had to
I
connect
need
our
to know that there are going to be people in the light and people in the dark. And I cannot draw conclusions from it, is what it is saying.
No, what?
So I am
another thing
sensitive
is
to
saying-
that. There could be some circumstances where there is no power. So people will be in the dark. That kind of a scenario is what will come up. Are you getting me? So that is what he is trying to say, that feeling has to be, the doer has to be sensitive to the feeling. Sir, correct? Jagdish
Yeah,
sir?
so what he's saying is actually, when you say sensitive means, you should allow the outside, what you said, to come inside.
Let it
Okay.
pass, don't respond. Don't react, don't respond. Observe.
Let it come
Okay.
in.
Yeah. ना
So
resist
desire-
करो ना उसको succumb करो. Yeah.
Okay.
Desire must be restrained.
Desire must be restrained so as not to strive against rightness and reason.
Correct.
So we should
Yeah.
not be restrained. Okay. So as not to strive against rightness and reason.
Hmm.
Thus, rightness should
क्या
be
मतलब
made
हुआ इसका
safe.
सर?
क्या हुआ?
इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? Desire must not be restrained.
Somebody says something.
Desire
Must be restrained. It must be restrained so as
matlab, see, if you are already sensitive, right,
Hmm.
you will not react.
Hmm.
You will neither react nor will you oppose. Observing, see, you will only observe that. You may understand that, but you will not act on that.
how about comment?
No. What he also says here is, when you say desire to be restrained to the righteousness means, when you have a desire, make sure that it is towards, you only follow what is towards what is ultimately the right. Right is defined earlier much. Righteousness.
Dharma.
That's what he says. So that's what he says. Okay.
Yeah, that means, sir, that also means take cognizance of connection to the above.
Absolutely. That is, it's only if you are connected to the
Ultimate.
above, you will know what is right, right?
Correct.
Otherwise,
That
go
says-
ahead, every
So don't respond to it with your
Senses.
organs. Yeah,
with the elements.
be
yeah.
above the senses.
Yeah.
Correct,
That's why I
Gayatri,
talked
got
about
it?
the ethics of consciousness, the ethics of the
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
ethics of authority and the ethics of consciousness. Ethics
Correct.
of
So,
authority is given by
be above the ego. Be above the ego. So that means don't succumb to ego. Vishwamitra mat bano, नहीं तो त्रिशंकु को स्वर्ग हो जाएगा.
That's a very good example. Vishwamitra.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good example.
Yeah,
Also, they say always go with the heart. Some people they get the intuition, the right intuition through the heart. They say.
that means don't
You have to be
react or
careful.
act on emotion.
Yeah, that is
Right?
true.
Be sane.
Yeah.
in simpler physical terms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or do not excessively get involved with your senses. Limit
That's basically, sir.
to the-
I like to interpret a slightly different way, saying not see, don't give into emotions. That is not totally correct, because you see, any choice that we make in life, personal or outside, has to be emotion driven. It's not a
Sir, when you
formula.
act, but if
But
it is
I'll
not in the purview of the filter.
No, let me complete that. Let me complete what
Huh, huh.
Okay. So any decision or any choice, decision is a choice making, right? Any choice making cannot be bereft of emotion. Like, for example, you choose your lover, you choose your partner, you choose a job, everything. Okay. You cannot say if you have two jobs, ultimately the emotion that drives. But what this says is, okay, if you are aware that emotion which that comes through should be in the path of righteousness.
Correct.
It cannot be driven, that emotion should not be blind. That's the Vishwamitra example. He
Correct.
makes a choice. Okay.
Right, agree.
But that through the emotion. What emotion? Blind emotion.
Correct.
That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, sir, the discussion would be, how do you know what is righteousness?
You don't know, sir. You don't know. That's where the problem comes.
Right. See,
This is where we can
sir,
never know whatever.
that is because of your lack of wisdom. Ignorance is the root cause. Ignorance coupled with ego. Suppose the ego was not there and there was ignorance and you are sensitive to the fact that you are ignorant, you will try to learn.
Yeah, you would learn, I agree.
Correct.
Until
See, when you don't learn, you are in the input mode. Don't get into the output mode. That is righteousness.
Yes, and you are always into the I know wala mode. I know.
That
I
is
know.
ego. I know is ego.
yeah, that's
That
perfectly.
is the same thing he is saying.
Nathaniel Branden was actually the disciple of Ayn Rand, was to take over Ayn Rand, but he split from her last time and became a subjectivist against an objectivist. He puts it beautifully. See, what happens, we don't, like you rightly said, we are making a choice, right? But while we have to make a choice, we are not sure which choice is the correct one, because we are not still in that level. But if we know, therefore, we do not know how to make a choice, you will accept if you made a wrong choice. Quite often what happens, we make a wrong choice, we don't accept that we made a wrong choice.
Sir, that is where he brings in the concept of God. That is precisely where he brings in the God, and then you start making an emotional decision based on the faith.
On faith, that is also wrong. Not what kind of faith. The faith by itself is not wrong.
Faith is that he will give me only right. Whatever I will do, but that will be turned correct.
Not again faith on an outside, like you said, out.
Correct.
Faith in yourself, and where this faith in yourself is driven by your conscience.
Correct.
Which requires this maturity, what you call the growth, the progression of your soul, right?
Sir, no, I agree. But in reality, what we do is we create a God.
Yeah, that is
which becomes a nature God, and we put the blame on that nature God who is supposed to take care of me.
He speaks, he says in chapter 3 also, no? He says that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
So that's the reason that the human being doesn't take a responsibility of anything. It just wants somebody to be blamed.
Absolutely right. You're perfectly right. Exactly. We don't want to accept. In fact, I tell my students, look, you know, if you cannot change what you don't own, right? So I can't change your car. I can change only my car. So if you want to change a mistake you have made, you must own it first.
Yeah,
but we
accept
don't
it.
have that much of stamina, strength to accept those mistakes or whatever. We just do, we need somebody to be blamed. This is what
that is why we are, again we go back to God only there.
Exactly.
No, in your corporate world, the bosses will blame the subordinate.
Yeah.
Yes.
The subordinate blames his subordinate.
And in the family, like we blame our parents, we blame our siblings, we blame this, that, teachers. My teacher has not taught us. We don't even feel like, it's our responsibility to learn also, to inquire.
Correct.
touching
No,
the
I
heart of the
agree.
teacher. I heard someone say.
No, Kanchanji, you should also look at the other side of the world where we don't live. The minority, when they think they are responsible for a grief or for a large mistake, they are the ones that are going to commit suicide, which is the gravest sin in the world. It's
You're right.
been described in Vedas. That is
you
the
touched, you
gravest sin in the world.
you have touched a very sensitive thing because it's a very larger issue.
Sir,
All the
tell me
suicide
one
comes
thing. We
Let him
human made a
complete. Kanchanji, let
minority,
him
we
complete.
human made a majority, we human, just did caste, religion and all this kind of a stuff. We human being our own personal interest into it, isn't it? We
Yes.
have created all these things without knowing that how this going to be impact this whole society. Okay, the people who were there in the higher hierarchy of that creed and all that thing, they have created this, and then they put the people into a minority level, this that, and they have trained their mind into way that they are minority, they are not deserving this. So this is we human did it. Okay, it's not nobody else has done it. So this
See,
human
this the
nature,
human-
our ego,
No, it is not just
We are
about
not
ego.
talking
There are
about
so
it.
many
We are
other
not talking
components
about
at play which have been exploited. They exploited, and the ones who exploited. These are the people
Yes.
who have created this.
exactly.
No, we are
So if you
talking
go into
about.
those kind of arguments, our purpose of studying this book will not suffice.
No, Kanchanji, what we were.
Ma'am, this
what
is
I was
theory.
raising
In life,
is-
we have to go and practice.
Yes.
Self-blaming is what I was talking about. You own a mistake, but not to the extent that you think you should end your life.
No, it's
No,
not about that.
You own a
It's about
mistake, yes.
what
but
I
with the
understand
purpose-
about owning up mistakes and all this is like how you can create your life and the surrounding wherever you are. Okay, so if you have committed something which is not supposed to be, take ownership, create something new. Take ownership, create something new. So it's an ongoing process of evolving yourself. Okay, how our soul journey, how in a spiritual journey of this thing, how we are evolving by reading one or the other book and discussing and enlightening each other. We are evolving, isn't it? So in the same way, when you take the ownership of your mistakes or ownership of anything, whatever you have done it or you have not done it, but it was supposed to be meant to done that way, so then you evolve yourself. Simple. In my I'm talking in that sense.
Can I intervene here? I think both of
Please.
you are right. But what he's saying is, you are saying it because I triggered that by saying unless you own it, you can't change what you don't own. So if you want to change it, what he's saying is taking a blame for it. It's not the same as taking ownership. Now, something happens and you take a blame for it. It's not the same thing owning a wrong choice that you have made. No, these two are different things. Now, what happens is when you take a blame for anything or etc., you lose what is called as self-worth. Now, all the suicides take place because at some point in time you lose your self-worth. Am I worthy of living? Am I worthy of being a human being?
Yes.
I am worthy of anybody's respect. That is slightly
I have
different.
offended
Yeah,
somebody.
and
I caused
at
death
that
of somebody.
point,
That's a
at
wrong.
that point,
When you
put
are
the
talking
filter
in
of
that sense,
righteousness.
Correct.
sir, when you're talking in that sense, then it means that you are the one who is, taking a blame on yourself and trying to, I think that's a weaker part of the human being, where you just go and do the suicidal part.
No, see,
You self-worth. You lose self-worth. Shall I give you a small story? Okay, real story which happened during COVID time. Many such stories I have unfortunately experienced. I am associated with IIM Shillong, which is a thing with I used to mentor that until the COVID time. I stopped going there, and so most of the young faculty, right, young colleagues, etc. Most of them married, so on. This young colleague of mine, I would like to still call him colleague, though I was a kind of mentor. He was one of the unmarried faculty members there, men. Okay. There were 3 other ladies who are also unmarried, but the women managed to get into groups, etc. Now, this new campus, that is the whole UT, has not yet been constructed till recently. They are not moved into that. So these people were living in some flats which were hired by the institute as the faculty quarters. They were living and so on and so forth. So when COVID came, suddenly they're going to the institute and interacting with each other stopped. Those who were married got involved with their families, so on and so forth. The women somehow their own group, so they talk on the telephone. This man was left isolated. He has only a mother who is to be in Calcutta. He used to go and visit her regularly in Calcutta. That COVID also stopped this. Now he had no one to talk to. And he was such a joyful person, you won't remember. He had come to home and he was the only bachelor. We played a joke on him. I asked him, look, I have both Alexa and as well as Google Home. So he'll go and ask Google Home, please marry me. Will you marry me? And Google Home said, sorry, we have other interests. When he asked Alexa, sorry, I'm in the cloud. Just for joking. He was also taking all the joke. Now, just one day what happened with, and he used to be in constant touch with him because he'll ask me questions and things like that. I was treating him more as a son, though he was a colleague and he used to teach strategy and all that. Then what happened? One day he came to know, I said, I have got a new granddaughter child. He said, sir, I want to see the grandchild's face, etc. So I carried the child, small baby, shown in photograph, and he admired it well. He even said, sir, this child's face is such that he's going to be as smart as you are, etc. Blah blah. This was the last message. Next morning, I get a message from I.M. Shillong. He was found hanging from his ceiling fan.
Oh my God.
Okay, so you can imagine the reaction from me. Now, what happened was this: when everybody got the families into their the ladies, there were 3 of them. So he was left isolated. He couldn't go to his mother. He started wondering the purpose of living. And he's been thinking about it. To compensate for it, he has become jolly. He used to be talking to me regularly and making this phone call. Previous evening, he's talked to me about my child. Right? Slowly, his self-worth starts slipping. Next morning, he hanged himself in the ceiling fan. Poor fellow. The only clue that he was trying to do, we got was 3 days earlier, he sent a mail to his cousin, a lady cousin in Calcutta, saying, see, will you please go and take care of your mommy? That means he had this already. So he had asked his cousin to take care of his mother. This is, and I've seen other stories also of self-worth. There are many stories that come across because I was looking. There's a beautiful quote passages called Midlife Crisis, etc. by Sheil Gehi, who she researched a lot of people, and it's a fact book like this called Passages. So there are many of these things you can connect. So, like you said, when you blame yourself for things that happen, you get into a sense of lack of self-worth. Then you commit suicide.
Yeah.
And
This is where
sir,
you have
this
Yeah.
story that you are relating, now let people take that as an example and put the messages that we have received in terms of the duties of the human being.
right.
I'm telling you, see, then the language they speak, see, they will now come to the conclusion that he was living under the influence of his senses. He did not balance his feelings.
Feeling and desire.
Right.
Correct? Yeah. And
Correct.
he acted not taking cognizance of the rightness and reason.
Because we are all also not, we still a long way to go there. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Correct?
You and I were
Exactly.
discussing yesterday, it can happen to any
So
person any day.
what
Yeah.
I also take it in a way like his soul wanted to end his life into this way. He wanted to experience the death by hanging himself. Okay,
I don't know.
That's-
We don't know.
that could be his agreement. That could be his
No, no.
agreement in that
See,
way.
and we don't know.
I know of your. We
See,
don't know.
in a pre-birth plan, a soul puts together a number of exit gates.
Yes,
Yes.
exit points. Yes, you may have taken.
Correct?
But I've told them.
This
I
is
have two
one
exit
of
points
the
that I
exit
said.
point where he is adding to his karma. He is not dissolving his karma.
Yeah. So, sir, when Sir Jagdish sir was telling this story, I was remembering myself when I was trying to kill myself during the
no.
COVID time, and the whole time, one voice was like, Kanchan, you have more worth of, being suicidal, this thing and all. So I always stopped myself by doing that thing. Although every night I used to try, but every day I was like, stop. You're worth of something else, Kanchan. Don't do this. Don't do this. So I could understand that my exit point was not that time. Okay. So everything was
You recognize your worth. You recognize, it's called self-worth.
exactly.
You recognize the self-worth, you see?
Exactly.
Yes.
But many who commit suicide, they don't recognize the self. They
Sir,
lose the self.
That is when she came into this meditation with Chandra sir.
Okay,
Yes.
that's very good.
That's
Wonderful.
the
Wonderful.
way of my journey started with.
Wonderful.
Sir, why do we need to think suicide is a self-destruction, which is
Sir, that is again
planned?
the ignorance.
No, let me complete it.
That is
Sir,
the
Chandra sir,
ignorance.
let
It
me
is
complete.
an emotional outburst.
Yeah, it is not an exit point. You are
It is an exit point, sir. It is an exit
distorting
point.
the soul's contract. You are distorting the soul's plan completely because the
No, you
soul
don't
never
know.
planned to exit at that point.
Sir,
Are you?
somebody
Sir,
who
I
wants
know
to
or
commit
not.
suicide. See, in Robert Sparks, there are certain cases that he discusses about violent death.
About why?
Violent.
Violent
Violent
death.
death.
That violent death is because he wants to compensate for something else that was done earlier, or that is one of the experience that he wants to gain. Even that is part of this.
Don't know, sir. I cannot think
Yeah.
of it because
No,
soul doesn't
sir,
plan on
Vinay,
exiting.
we need to think spiritually, not logically.
Yeah.
When we think spiritually, we will get a different connotation to the whole thing. Let us proceed. Are you okay with some more time?
Yeah, for me, it's okay.
I'm okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm also
Yes,
okay.
sir.
What about those who have got office tomorrow? They have to think.
I'm okay.
It's okay, sir. I'm okay, sir.
I'm okay too.
Okay then.
Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. The
Okay.
rightness,
Thus, rightness should be made safe against the pressure of desire. So that's why the rightness should be made safe against the pressure of desire. Rightness should receive the respect due to it. Rightness should receive the respect due it for showing the standard of what is right, and reason should receive the reverence due to it. Due it. What is due? Reverence due it as the guide of the doer in the human who should learn.
Due to it. Two is missing.
yeah, in both the cases.
Yeah, that's what it doesn't make sense.
No, it is
So-
our English, he is
To correct
speaking
this,
in his
rightness
English.
Rightness should receive the respect due to it for showing
No.
the standard of what is right, and reason should receive the reverence due to it as the guide of the doer in the human who should learn to communicate with rightness
do
and
it.
reason.
As a dead. Sorry, there's something is frozen.
So he's
Yeah,
saying,
then let's continue.
okay, the human should reverse the I-ness of his knower as his unchanging
Not-
identity.
Not reverse, revere.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. The human should revere the I-ness. Sorry. The human should revere the I-ness of his knower as his unchanging identity, and the selfness of his knower as his self-knowledge and as his bringer and dispenser of light of the intelligence. So, okay, now I got it. The human should revere the I-ness. That means his self-worth, isn't it?
Yes.
Aham.
Of his
ego.
knower. Yeah,
His identity, basically.
his identity, not, identity of his knower as his unchanging identity, a uniqueness, and the selfness of his knower as his self-knowledge. That is Atma Vidya. Self-knowledge of
Yes.
his knower as self-knowledge and as his bringer and dispenser of light of the intelligence. Okay, so
Yeah,
that
it
means
is the duty.
he is,
Yeah,
and also, it is the duty of the doer in the body to distinguish itself as that which is not the body with the name, but as desire and feeling in the body, and to just each of
Adjust.
and to adjust each to the other toward a final balanced union. Wow, this is
Absolutely.
like, this is we it is like our
balancing component wise,
yeah,
like software development. You do the unit development and then do the testing, right? You
Yeah.
do the adjustments, right? It is like that.
and also the moment we think with the name and form, we are limited.
Correct.
The identity, we identify ourselves with the name and the
Identify.
label, the procedure.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the labeling. Yeah.
Not with the inside, but what is external.
Yeah.
Correct.
So we stop ourselves, we stop ourselves with being judged and being with the identity. Once we leave our identity and be you in one, we just we expand ourselves.
We expand. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
The duties
And-
of the
Correct. Yeah, let's
the-
proceed.
the duties of the doer in the human, the duties of the doer in the human to the intelligence are to recognize it as its conscious light, as different from nature, as a source of light that is in the triune self. The duties of the doer in the human to the intelligence are to
This is the
to
duty
recognize
towards the intelligence.
the duties of the doer in the human to the intelligence are to recognize it as its conscious light, as different from nature, as the source of light that is in the triune self. Wow.
Okay.
In other words, what
This
you
is
say,
beautiful.
we should be aware of what we are.
Yeah.
Ultimate
Exactly.
awareness, what we are.
And he's also very subtly saying, you are not the body.
Right.
See, that's
exactly.
why, like Patriji always says, oh God, you are also God. Like we are not, we always think we are limited. Yeah. So
Most of
that,
Patriji's messages give out the philosophy contained in this book.
yeah. So the human should preserve the light and not lose it into nature. The human should preserve the light and not lose it into nature.
Yeah.
So one should try to become conscious of the light and to be conscious of the intelligence through the light of the intelligence.
Correct. Everything starts with the light from the intelligence coming into the neotic plane and all those.
Yeah. So we should be aware and conscious of it.
Correct.
The duty of the human to the supreme intelligence is to become conscious of it through the light of the intelligence, which gives its light to the triune self. So, yeah, that consciousness
Which is
of
actually, that light is nothing but wisdom.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Actually, if you allow me to digress, chapter 15 about Bhagavad Gita talks about the supreme self, which is very buried within, and we have grown out as a tree and become leaves there, far away from this. So ultimately, he says, this para, we should discover that is the supreme being. And Eknath Ishwaran clearly says that acts with which you do it is meditation.
Correct.
And sometimes the soil is loose, and you suddenly reach the point. I said, I've reached that level. But unfortunately, the real depth is further. You need deeper. We get satisfied with the initial meditation. But then you need a sharper axe, which is deeper meditation. This is what Eknath Singh says.
Correct.
Right.
I agree.
When these duties are comprehended, when these duties are comprehended, they will be done as naturally as are the bodily duties of eating, drinking, and bathing, and breathing and sleeping. And as gladly as one communicates with those whom he respects and loves. Wow.
That means
Example,
it become a
Patriji.
habit.
Yeah,
Sorry, that was Patriji.
that's right. Yeah. For
That
him,
was Patriji.
it is so simple. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
it is
Everything.
automatic for him. It's
Yeah.
not- he doesn't
That
have
is
to-
why he could see even in a common man, everybody, same as himself.
Yeah.
Correct.
Responsibility is closely connected with duty. A man's duty, the decree of the law of thought, is measured by his responsibility, and this is based on his standard of right, his appreciation of right and wrong, that is, on the amount of knowledge of what is morally right or wrong, which he has acquired through the doer in the body.
Hmm.
A man is responsible to the degree of his knowledge in a given situation and of his ability to perform the duties of that situation. Okay, a man is responsible to the degree of his knowledge in a given situation and his ability to perform the duties of that situation. The law of thought centers upon the doer of the triune self. Okay, the law of the thought centers upon the doer of the triune self. Under that law is made the advance of the human, or by that law, he is cast into nature and imprisoned as a lost doer portion. Under that law is made the advance of the human, or by that law, he is cast into nature and imprisoned as a lost doer portion. So what is this? Can you explain under?
Then it's very simple. He has become corrupt, right? He is cast into nature. That means he is now coming he is becoming from the immortal state, he is coming to the mortal state of imbalance. Imbalance is feeling and desire, which is by virtue of the nature matter.
Okay. So what the human has become conscious of, as morally right or wrong, finds its expression as conscience, which is man's knowledge of his departure from what he knows is right.
Conscience, it is conscience.
Conscience. Always I get confused this. Conscience. Finds its expression as conscience, which is man's knowledge of his departure from what he knows is right for him. So that means he deviates.
Exactly. See, conscience is that fulcrum on which the balance or imbalance of right and
wrong.
Reason. Right and reason rests. Right? Now, for it to be balanced, the conscience has to be, the conscience will be equal to 1 when it is balanced.
Oh, when they right,
so
and
right
reason.
and wrong is this thought process.
Yeah.
Which is again triggered by desire and feeling.
Okay.
But influenced by knowledge and self-worth.
Influenced by knowledge and
self-worth, the ego.
Oh, yeah. Okay. In any given case, his duty to do. In any given case, his duty to do or not to do, to suffer or not to suffer, is shown to him by his conscience. If he thinks about doing what he knows to be positive wrong, his conscience will tell him don't. If he is in doubt about the rightness of his doing or not doing, suffering or not suffering, conscience will advise him as he keeps on thinking.
Correct.
So it is very subtle.
Conscience is, see, in Telugu you say, right, na manasu koppadu.
Okay.
That is conscience. My mind doesn't permit, my heart will not accept it. My mind will not accept it. That is
Okay.
because of your knowledge of rightness and reason.
Yeah, another word is also there, sir. Atma Sakshi.
No, Atma Sakshi is the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conscience will never show the way, nor will give an explanation, but it will say, do not
Do not.
or no, as often as necessary to let him find the way. So, okay, it will not interfere. He must find the way himself through the maze of life. Conscience will protect him from going wrong by telling him whenever he is about to do so. That is enough. His conscience make him responsible. His conscience will speak whether he listens or not. He must listen to the voice if he wants to know. The voice of conscience becomes the balancing factor in thoughts which are conceived or entertained and issued notwithstanding the warning.
Yes.
So
perfect.
that is like a free will. It doesn't interfere.
It is the free will.
It is the free will. Okay. Thoughts against which conscience does not warn. Thoughts against which conscience does not warn make no destiny. In them, the balancing factor, which is conscience, is satisfied at once by the issuing of the thought. It ends when its design is exteriorized. So what is this? I didn't, can you explain?
No. Thoughts against which conscience does not want make no destiny. That means those are powerless thoughts.
Oh,
They
okay,
are,
okay.
right?
Again,
They don't put any eggs into the basket of positive or negative.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. That means they are what you call passive thoughts.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
they are sitting in the universe, and tomorrow they may become active. Please remember that. It has not defined any destiny now. But they are sitting around, floating around in the universe.
Okay.
So they may become vectored later on. Today they are only scalars. Is that a correct connotation, sir?
Correct. Yes. It waits until another thought, maybe by itself it becomes, or it combines with another thought,
Correct.
or of your own, of your kind. That's what it is. Yes.
Correct. So vector and scalar mathematics bhi aa gaya. I think everything that we studied in school is going to come back. Yeah.
Okay. Intending to violate one's duty, conscience and responsibility is sin and will be exteriorized in a sinful act or omission. Sin originates in ignorance. That is, a man's act is a sin not because he does not know better, but because he does what he knows to be wrong. Acts done without knowing that they are wrong are not sins, though harmful results may follow, as where one poisons another accidentally or unintentionally causes him to fall under a train. If these acts are done with the intent of producing the result, they are sins. If not, they are done in ignorance. The difference under the law that demands that adjustments be made lies in the fact that in the second case, conscience does not warn and no duty is violated. But in the first, responsibility attaches. The ignorance out of which sins originate is different from that which causes ignorant action. The ignorance out of which sins originate is different from that which causes ignorant action. Wow.
Yeah.
The ignorance from which sin springs is due chiefly to obstinate prejudice to
stubborn.
obstruct. or
Stubborn
stubborn?
prejudices. Stubborn prejudices is again a manifestation of wrong side of ego.
Oh, okay. The
And one
ignorance from which,
to see his own mistakes.
okay. So the ignorance from which sin springs is due chiefly to obstinate prejudices and one's refusal to see his own mistakes. Okay, because he's stubborn.
This takes me to a slightly humorous digression. G.K. Chesterton was a Jew. You know, G.K. Chesterton, the author and the writer.
Yeah.
He was a Jew. And Sabbath was important. They're not supposed to eat pork. So he deliberately takes his friend to a restaurant on Sabbath and orders pork. So when his friend is shocked, he said, do you know what it means to not only having the pleasure to eat pork, but also the pleasure to do it in sin? He said, that is what pleasure of life is. Not only have the pleasure of eating pork, but also the pleasure of having to do it in sin.
See, that is why for non-vegetarians, when they didn't know about anything, eating meat is not wrong. For them, it is okay. But after knowing it is harmful, I think it is a sin.
Yes, yes, correct.
A man may sin in various ways. A man may sin in various ways. He sins first in thinking, and then the thought is exteriorized as a physical sin. These are sins against bodies and against doers, his own or those of others.
Correct.
Further, there are sins against outside nature and against his own intelligence and the supreme intelligence.
Correct.
What is this against his own intelligence, against his own?
See, his duty, no.
Wrong.
See, earlier he said his duties against the four elements.
Yeah.
Right? He explained that. Now he
Yeah.
is saying the disservice to those four elements.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right? Because when you are supposed to act in a particular way under the guidance of those four elements, and when you fail, you are committing sins. What are those sins he is explaining?
Yeah. Sins against one's own body. Sins against one's own body are all acts or omissions by which its well-being and usefulness are interfered with, as sexual sins, overfeeding or eating unwholesome food, drunkenness, uncleanliness, not taking care of one's eyes, teeth, or any part, not attempting to cure disease once it is noticed, inflicting a physical injury and murder of one's own body. So not taking the body or body parts also a sin.
Yeah, see, if you are not performing the duties, you are committing a sin basically.
Yeah.
See, every action of yours falls into one bucket. Either you are meeting its purpose, you are delivering the duties that you have to, or else you are committing a sin. That sin may be committed in two categories, out of ignorance or out of ego. I put it that way.
Out of ego. Okay.
So that's the reason, there is a saying like, God has given you such a beautiful body, beautiful eyes. Why not to take care of everything, when it is given free? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
You get the money and all this thing, you just do hard work and all. But the thing which is free, you do not even take care of it. So it's a sin.
Correct.
Simple.
And also this is a vehicle for us to experience and progress. So we should take care.
So this is the purpose of life, to be fulfilled by the body, by taking care of the body in which we are living.
We have got 3 more pages. We will not stop in between.
Okay.
Sir, I think I have to leave.
Sir, another 10 minutes you can't afford to stay?
10 minutes, yes. Okay.
We'll just read.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just go through it. Let's go through it.
So we'll go through it because anyway we have to revise this.
Okay, some of these sins like injury and murder may be inflicted also directly upon the body of another. However, many more sins which will demand a serious discipline and retribution are inflicted indirectly upon the bodies of others. Such sins are the manufacture or sale of adulterated foods and drinks and of narcotics sins of indifference or extortion which cause poverty, overcrowding, disease, and indecency in miserable dwellings, sins of employers who do not provide safe and sanitary places to work and who pay insufficient wages. These sins too may be chargeable to those who are not directly interested as employers, but are their agents, and to persons in public office through whose connivance such conditions are allowed to exist. Revolutionists who wish in troubled waters also belong here. In the same way, the people at large are responsible if they know of such facts and do not do what they can do to remedy conditions by which sins against the body are committed. In this way, a community as well as its party politicians may commit sins as by permitting abuse of convicts or by allowing rivers and lakes to be polluted by sewage or by not insisting upon laws to compel sanitary food, dwellings, and travel. So not providing the sanitary conditions.
So it's basically again the duties that you have. It's an extension of duties to oneself or nature or one of these. It is just an extension.
These are the various steps of sins committing against the body of others. That's what.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. The physical body is the house of the doer and should become the temple of the triune self. Into the physical body are solidified the four elements and the beings in them. Matter and beings travel in the body and are there affected by the conditions in which it exists and then are transformed, transmuted, etherealized, and go back into the kingdom of physical nature. In a human body, the four great spheres are together and there they may be affected. In a human physical body, the great universe and all its many beings can be brought together and focused. Therefore, by sins against a human body, one's own or another's nature is more directly affected than by any other sins of man. Therefore, by sins against a human body, one's own or another's nature is more directly affected than by another sins of man.
But any other type of sin.
Oh yeah, by any other sins of man. Correct. Sorry. Sins against the triune self are giving free rein to one's desires and appetites in disregard of what one senses knows to be wrong. By even after knowing what is not right, what is doing that is a sin. The desire may be for physical enjoyments as overeating or laziness, or for psychic enjoyments as sensuality or pleasure generally, or they may be for mental enjoyments as ambition, arrogance, and selfishness generally. There are sins against the thinker. They are the denial of the existence of the light of the intelligence, the intentional shutting out of the light so that one may remain in desired darkness. Then there are sins against the doer of another. These are the encouragement or seduction of coercion,
forcing somebody to,
So, or coercion of him to act, or indulgences that are sins against his triune self. Sins against the thinker of another are keeping him in darkness, shutting out the light of his intelligence for him, preventing him from reaching out for knowledge, and generally seducing or forcing him to do or suffer sins against his own thinker, as by encouraging infantile belief, lying, perjury, perjury and otherwise acting against his conscience. So how many? Okay. One commits a sin against his intelligence by denying the existence of that intelligence. The intention shutting out of the light of the intelligence may appear in the form of bigotry.
Bigotry.
Yeah, as the refusal to think about or examine religious problems, or as the clinging to an ancestral creed when one has outgrown it, or because of mental laziness. As conscience is the knowledge in the doer, or its contemplated departure from what is its standard of right, the stifling of conscience is a crime against the intelligence.
Stifling of conscience.
Oh, what is stifling?
Suppressing.
You actually pressing at the throat. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Lying, which is the intentional statement of a falsehood, and perjury, which is a similar statement after a solemn invocation of the deity, are crimes against the intelligence because they flout its light. What is
Okay.
flout?
Flout is they go against it,
Flout
they
is
misuse it.
Against.
Misuse
I
is
see.
the best example you can take.
Okay. Though a liar is often a clear thinker, yet he blurs his own thinking and dims the light that is in his atmosphere, because only to the degree that one sees a lie to be true can one lie most successfully and influences others. It is like in a court witness also.
Correct.
Though a lie is known to be a lie, it nevertheless beclouds the mental outlook of him who utters it.
I think we'll have to stop here.
Okay.
I think the last 2.5
So
pages.
basically,
Sir?
okay. Basically,
No,
what
because already
we start
we
with
read.
the sins against the, and what is sins against the thinker, sins against the, then goes to the sins against the transcendental.
Again, all the components.
It comes to all the components it goes. What are the different types?
Correct,
Of
correct. So we can do the individual reading because I will start the revision from chapter 3 next week onwards.
Okay.
Oh, in the
Because-
same one or in another session?
No, on the Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So that we have all the messages very clearly lumped together.
Oh, in a chart form?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to work on that.
Wow. I mean, he mentioned so many different ways how one can get sin.
Correct.
Correct.
See,
No,
thoughts
at
to
different levels.
sins is the
Different-
completion of that chapter.
The basic sin starts into the body, then your thinker, then the intelligence. See, all these things are. In fact,
Any
I always
deviation in
say-
your beauty. Now, for the candidates of spiritual tablet, I can explain this wonderfully in terms of major mistakes and minor mistakes.
Okay.
Because these are the duties that we have to perform. And all minor mistakes are those that I am doing to myself. Yeah, and those that don't have a far-reaching impact on anybody else. Or we have far-reaching impact on everybody. That becomes the major mistakes.
See, in ours also they say naimitika karma. I mean, the
Naitika
duties.
karma.
Naitika karma, naimitika karma also. That is,
Correct.
naimitika karma is like a shraddha karma and taking care of, all these are come under those. And also nature, taking care
No,
of
but
nature
then-
also.
See, that spiritual connotation and religious connotation, right? There are various other readings that we can attribute to it. Because the moment you rise above the sensory, the fear of God, to the application of God and knowledge is one and the same. Or there is no knowledge about truth, which is the theosophist's way of
Yeah.
putting it.
Yeah.
When you come to that realization, right, these spiritual practices or the religious practices in terms of rites and all that, right, they lose their meaning.
Yeah. I agree.
Right? Otherwise, in Patriji's case, they wouldn't have buried him.
Hmm.
Yes, correct.
Right? See, he is above religion. There is no religion higher than truth. Truth is you are nature matter, you have gone back to nature.
Hmm.
Right? So that this one is very important.
Incidentally, if I don't know how many of you know about it, I discussed with Pandits. In the true Vedic time, there was no cremation or even burial. You know that?
Oh,
Yeah.
they just used to leave.
The body was just let rot in the forest, so to be part of the beasts and the plants.
Same way, one particular
That is the
Persian,
Zoroastrian.
Parsi,
Parsi also.
Zoroastrian.
Parsis, the Zoroastrians and Parsis both.
Parts is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that. They do that.
They do
They,
that.
they call it the silence of, the Tower of Silence.
Tower of Silence. Tower of Silence.
Oh, I see.
You have one in Malabar Hills in Bombay.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Hmm.
I've been there. I've gone there with some of my Parsi friends.
I have heard of, I have never been there.
जाना चाहिए Malabar Hills को जाओ वहां से they also allow, they don't allow you to enter that, but there is an adjoint point of view from which you can see the Tower of Silence.
Okay.
See, that is what we say, religious beliefs, right? After reading that chapter 3, I am this man's fan when it comes to the religious beliefs and all. How much out of ignorance we create, we actually cause sin.
There is a saying, belief is the biggest obstacle to faith.
Exactly. Belief is. Because the moment you talk about belief and position, you are finished. You are acting against the righteousness and reason. Okay.
You have limited yourself.
No,
Correct.
actually, a terrorist strongly believes that he is doing something good.
Correct.
Jihadi.